And hello, everyone, and welcome to our brand new show here on Amazon Live called The Right Stuff. Well, we not only share the journey of authors, but also connecting with readers like yourself. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, and we're so excited to be able to bring this brand new show to Amazon Live every Monday right here. And we're so glad that you can be with us. For those tuning in on the Amazon side, I appreciate you guys coming in. You'll notice there is a follow button either here in this corner or down below. Make sure you guys hit that follow button, stay connected with all of our programs. We now have 5 great shows here on Amazon Live, so definitely invite you guys to be a part of that with us. You will also see the books by today's guest. I'm so excited to welcome author Diane Kane to our broadcast today. We're going to be talking about the book you guys see here on your screen, I Never Called Him Pa, but also discussing her writing journey as well. If you guys are new to Diane, we will let you guys know how to stay connected with her. And of course, we want you guys to be able to get her book for yourself and also share it with a friend. Hello to you, ESP Presents, joining us already on YouTube. So let's say I would be remiss if I did not mention that. I was just telling Diane, we simulcast our broadcast. We are on Amazon, but hello to you guys tuning in on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as on LinkedIn. Appreciate you all being with us. Pele, hello to you on Facebook. I see you there as well. So thank you so much for being on with us. But Diane, welcome to The Right Stuff.
Hey, Cyrus, I'm so excited to be here on the first show. This is fantastic.
Well, look, I'm excited to be able to have you join us for this, and I'm excited for our audience to be with us as well. Again, Diane is someone and Diane and I were actually just talking. We actually met through a mutual friend, so shout out to Manswell T. Peterson, who will be a guest on our show next month. And, I think the great thing about you, Diane, is that you've been able to not only to do what you love as a storyteller, but also be able to connect with readers, as you were just telling me, literally around the world. What has that been like for you to do something that you enjoy and to share it with the rest of us?
Cyrus, it's like a dream come true for me. I've always wanted to be a writer. And of course, you have to make money in life. So I've done several other jobs. I've been a chef in a restaurant, and I did 25 years the Postal Service delivering mail. But all the time, all these stories would be in my head and I'd write them down. But the turning point for me was when I was asked into a writers group with published women authors, and they really took me under their wing, and they showed me my strengths, and they helped me with my weaknesses, and I started publishing short stories first.
Mm-hmm. And now here you are with a novel. I want to say ESP Presents says Cyrus is really a nice guy. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Dreams
ESP
do
Presents.
come true.
And Pele says dreams do come true, and it's so true.
Yes.
He says congratulations to you. And that is a great thing again about this. And I love this that you shared that about your story, Diane, because I think so many people can relate to that. And I hope that encourages someone, right? Because it doesn't matter when you start. It really is just about not giving up. So that brings up this question then, Diane. When did you first realize it? When did you first realize that storytelling was something you wanted to do?
I've always loved storytelling through school, through even elementary school, but into high school. And I had some of the greatest teachers who were supportive, and that stuck with me through all the years that maybe I didn't have time to write or couldn't, but that idea that I could, that somebody believed in me was always there. And I love giving that back to other writers and new writers too, and I help others to become published because I know how it feels, and you really do need someone to lift you up.
Yeah. Such a great point. And now, of course, you're able to be that person for others. So for yourself, the book that I had a chance to read is the book that they see on our screen, I Never Called Him Pa. And I want to say for our Amazon audience, you guys will notice you can get either the Kindle edition or the print edition there. I see you guys already clicking it. So thank you so much for that. I know that Diane, I appreciate that as well. Manswell is joining us over on the Amazon side as well. Diane, he said, it's me, Manswell T. Peterson. Even though his name shows up as Manswell T. Peterson, he's telling me it's Manswell T. Peterson. So hello to you, Manswell T. Peterson.
He's a force of nature.
Thank you for joining us. So I think, the idea for this book, I'm curious about it. We're going to get into it a little bit to tease our audience a bit. But I want to talk about for myself as a reader, when I was reading I Never Called Him Pa, because I love the fact that it is such a layered story, Diane, because you're able to show us, I think, the complications of home, but also I think coming into one's own and kind of dealing with the world around us. What was the inspiration for I Never Called Him Pa? How did it come about?
Well, it was a long inspiration because I'll tell you, I say it took me 61 years and 2 months to write that book
Oh wow.
because 60 years ago, when I was about 5 years old, my grandfather, who worked on the railroad, told me stories about the hobos who rode in the boxcars. And that idea always stuck with me. He would say, they're good men, they just lost their way.
Mm,
And I never forgot that. And when I started writing short stories, I wrote a short story about my main character who came into the novel, but it started out as a short story, Ernest, and it was called Ernest Lived. And I wrote the short story. It had a beginning, middle, and end, and it was about Ernest who rode the boxcars. And it's set in the 19 late 1940s, early 1950s, when some of the men who were in World War II, they just didn't have a place to go home, and some of them became homeless. And this was a time before the words like post-traumatic stress syndrome
mm,
were ever thought of, or depression wasn't talked about. But that's what, these men ended up just riding the rails, riding in boxcars. And they were not bad men. They just didn't know where home was, or
mm,
could relate anymore. So they work though, and a lot of people will tell me after they read this story, oh, my grandmother, you know she helped the hobos, she gave them food, or they did things for them. So this was a phenomenon that was real. And so that idea stuck with me. And it was 60 years later, I did the short story, and I happened to see that a short story publication was looking for historical fiction. I sent the story into them. It was Red Penguin Press, and
mm.
not only did they publish my short story, it won first place as the title story. So it's Ernest Lived and Other Historical Fiction Stories.
Wow.
And so I knew that that was the story I wanted to develop into a novel. But when it came to finally sitting down to write the novel, I really feel, Cyrus, like it was a God-given thing to me,
Mm,
that the story poured out in 2 months. It just came on. The characters spoke to me, and they told me their story. And so, 2 months of putting it down on paper, but a year of getting it right, of editors, beta readers, which read before you published, and from all walks of life, because I have a diverse um, set of characters in my
wow.
book. So I had people read it that came from all different walks of life, to make sure that I got it correct.
Yeah, and I love that, and we're already seeing a connection. Ellen says on Amazon Live, while I put it in my charts, I remembered the hobos in boxcars. I will be reading your story. Sounds like a good read. My
Thank
dad
you.
gave them food as well. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
it's amazing. I hear that over and
mhm,
over again. And what's funny is that thing that I applied to many agents, and the thing that turned them off the most was the word hobo. And
mm,
they said, I don't think that's politically correct. And it's like, yes, but they were real, and they were men, and they deserve to be given their due.
yeah. Yeah, love that. Love that. Let's see. Latanya says, "Congratulations on your new show, Cyrus. She makes me like I'm in college again." So and that's the thing. I think what's so interesting about the history, and I love the fact that you're able to kind of weave that into the book here, because what I took away from it, Diane, that was really interesting, and I want people who are just finding out about I Never Called Him Pa to know that even regardless of where it's set, it is such a timely story, which I guess can be both inspiring but also in a sense depressing, Diane. That we live in a world that in many ways is not so different, right? Does that surprise you?
That no, Cyrus, and that was one of the things that I found when I was writing it too. That it's set in the 1950s when I call it the dawning of the age of social justice, but it has been a long road, and we're still traveling it. And yes, a lot of the things I wrote about, they are still going on. But that was another reason for me to really get this book out, is to show people that we're all uniquely perfect, and we really need to celebrate our differences and embrace each other as human beings.
Love that. I want to say, for those who are just coming in, you guys are coming in now from all over the place. So I appreciate that. And I know Diane does as well. Welcome to our brand new show here on Amazon Live called The Right Stuff. It's our opportunity to bring in authors, share their stories, but also let you guys get to know a little bit more about their storytelling and what made them write what they wrote. For Diane Kane, who is our guest today, we're talking about her book, I Never Called Him Pa. She talked to us about how her main character, Ernest, was first a part of a short story that she had recognized, and now, of course, is part of this book. I want to say hello to you guys over on LinkedIn. I see you. I appreciate you all being over with us. Also, those tuning in on YouTube, on Twitter or X, and also on Facebook. Appreciate you as well. We have some questions for you, Diane, I want to get to on Amazon. Ellen says, is your character writing from a male perspective? And if so, was it hard to write from a male perspective? I so appreciate your story. I can't wait to read it. So I'll let you answer that, Diane.
That is such a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, because my narrator is a young boy. It's Henry, and he lives on a farm. He's being raised by his grandmother. His wayward mother comes and goes. She's looking for something better than the farm life. And so the grandmother's raising young Henry, and that is the voice I use. Henry is the voice that tells the story. He tells it from an innocent point of view. He starts out about 5 years old, and it's a coming of age story. So he progresses, and so his voice matures and his ideas mature, but he's always a little naive. And so it's sort of looking at the real hard stories of life, but through a child's eye. And that wasn't easy, because I had to make it an innocent narrator, but I had to make it interesting. So it can't be just words that are simple. So I had to really try hard. It was hard to make that narrator work, but it really does, I think.
Yeah. So I have a question. Well, let me say, Valerie Atkinson is joining us on Amazon as well. Hello to you, Valerie. Appreciate you being with us. She says, so eloquently put, Diane, loving your platform, Cyrus. Thank you for that, Valerie. Appreciate that. Glad you could join us over there on Amazon. And I appreciate the hearts for you guys on Amazon. So if you guys don't know on the other platforms on Amazon, you're able to give us hearts to let us know you appreciate in the comments. Appreciate that. And appreciate you guys going ahead and buying Diane's book. Remember, as you guys can see it there, I have the paperback highlight. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the Kindle edition for you guys as well. You can get either one of those literally right now as we're having our conversation today. So definitely make sure you guys get that book and add it to your reading list for sure. And also, of course, if you guys are not getting it now, make sure you guys put it in your wish list so it'll be there for you when you guys are ready for it. So Diane, talk to us about that a little bit further, because I didn't want to get ahead of you and talk about the other characters. How did you decide to let Henry kind of take the lead?
Well, I think that it's Henry's story. It's how he doesn't have a pa. He doesn't really know who his pa is, and so he's really looking for that in his life. And his mother comes and goes, so he really needs that male bonding. And when Ernest comes, he's riding the rails, he's sick, he stops a lot at the grandmother's farm and has helped out over the years. And then when he becomes ill, the grandmother takes him in and she thinks it's going to be his last days, and she doesn't want him to die in the boxcars, but
Yeah.
she takes good care of him, and he actually gets his strength back for some time. And I want to mention that, one of the things, I wanted everything to be realistic, and one of the things was that from the short story I had Ernest with palsy, which was kind of a generic term. And so I wanted in the novel to make it more realistic. And I actually met online um, a great guy named Farron Dozier, who was a veteran, and he was in the army when he found out that he had sickle cell.
Mm.
And what Farron has done is dedicate his life to educating other Black soldiers about sickle cell. And he really he just pours his whole heart into it. So when I decided, well, I think that, that could work and I could shed some light on that topic. And I got a hold of Farron, and I told him all about the story, and he confirm the things that I was talking about. And when I wrote it, he also read all the parts that had to do with sickle cell. And he said, yes, you got it right. So
Mm.
I was, I'm proud to be able to include that too.
Love that. Love that. Again, appreciate you guys coming in on all the different platforms. Lancelot Theobald is joining us over on Facebook. Good to see you, Lancelot. I know he's going to be on a guest coming up in January. He says, great interview. Thank you for that, Lancelot. He's a fellow author there, Diane, as well.
Great.
Also, we have Alicia Sadler, who's also, she's a publisher of a magazine, Intriguing Moves. She says hello to
Awesome.
you and to
Hello.
myself. Appreciate you joining us as well. So I want to talk about what's happening like here, because you have a very popular Facebook page. We have it tagged for you guys on Facebook, so make sure you guys go over there. What has that been like for you to see the community you've been able to bring together there, Diane?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's grown so much. I started out, like I said, I started out with short stories, and I published 2 books of short stories with friends of mine, Flash in the Can 1 and Flash in the Can 2. And then I went on to children's books, and I did Braden the Brave Goes to the Hospital, which is based on my nephew who was in Boston Children's Hospital. And that book is now in children's hospitals across the country, which I'm very proud of. And then I did the children's book Don Gatto, and which is Don Gatto is a real cat, 3-legged cat, and he lives in Saborga, Italy, with my friend who did all the illustrations. She's a great artist. And so we did that book in French, English, Spanish, and Italian. And so I have met people from all over the world online through my writing. And now with the novel, I Never Called Him Pa, I'm just getting so much great feedback from all the people that have read it. It's overwhelming. It really is.
Love that. Love that. I have a clarification question for you from Amazon, Diane. I'm going to let you answer it. It's from Ellen. She says, I see, I guess, talking about what you were saying about the book, not too juvenile, but yet adult read, as well as the dialogue is written in a Southern dialect. Is that right? When she's talking about I Never Called Him Pa?
I wouldn't say it's written in the Southern dialect. It really is set in Illinois, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you why I set in Illinois. Because when I was writing it, and I was writing about the hobos in the steam trains, my husband actually said to me, "Oh, you better be careful when the steam trains stopped running in the 1950s." And I looked it up, and he's right, as he always is. And so I said, I did find that in the Chicago area, the steam trains ran a little longer. And I kind of took them from 1949 into 1942. So I said, okay, it's got to be in the Northern Illinois area. And I've actually never been to Northern Illinois, which took me a lot more research, because I had to figure out what kind of trees were there, what kind of birds were there. Everything that I did, I had to research. But I was lucky because during COVID, when I was writing the book, I actually took a break, and somebody was online looking for somebody to read short stories to a senior group uh, that they were taking care of. So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll read some stories from Flash in the Can." I got on there, and at the end, the people said to me, "Oh, what are you working on?" And I told them, and it was set in Illinois, and they said, "Oh, we live in Illinois." So I
Oh,
was able
wow.
to get people to read it from Illinois and make sure that I got everything correct on that basis. So I really feel like every time there was an issue or a problem I ran into, somebody came and answered my questions and helped me. It was like it was supposed to be.
Wow, love that. Love that. I appreciate you guys with all of the feedback. Ricardo, hello to you on Facebook. He says, I'm enjoying the right stuff. Thank you for that. Ricardo, we're glad to be here. It's funny, it's our third year on Amazon Live, but every time we bring a brand new show, and this is our first of two new shows we're bringing here, we have our art show coming up next week, the art spot. I'm excited about that debuting, but every time it feels new. So I appreciate you all enjoying the new show. We have another comment from Valerie on Amazon. Valerie says, "Wow, Diane, have you ever imagined your writing would lead in so many different directions?" That's a great question.
I did not. I kind of always wanted to write children's books, but every time I took a step, sort of like Cyrus, I was saying, he keeps reaching for the next rung. I did the short stories, and I love that, and then I did the children's books, and that's a whole different concept, and with the illustrations and everything, and that was amazing. I just loved it, but I always wanted to do the novel. That was my goal for since I was young. I was going to write a novel. And I'm telling you one thing, that ever since I was young, I said to myself, when I write a novel, God's going to be in it. And he is. It's not a religious book at all. It's a spiritual book, I think.
Yeah,
Would you agree, Cyrus?
I agree. I do agree.
It's a spiritual book. There's people from all walks of life in it. There's a Jewish family, there's a gay couple, there's Ernest is a black man, and I have an Irish character. So there's people from all walks of life in it, and so I think that it tells a story about crossing paths, which was one of my themes, that we all cross paths with different people, and
Right.
that what we get from that, sometimes it's not good things, but it all adds to our story. There's all layers to it.
I'm so glad you said that. Pele says, I agree too. But I'm so glad you said that, Diane, because one thing I remember about I Never Called Him Pa when I read it was that it was all about taking bits and pieces from people, and we all do that in our lives, right? We
Yeah,
know, I want to be like this person, I don't want to be like this person, I know how not to
yeah,
do this because of this person, I know how to be more empathetic, which I think Henry learned from Ernest.
exactly.
And so I think there was little bits and pieces that he was able to take along with him as he grew. I want to mention what Ellen says. I don't want to leave you guys out over there. Ellen on Amazon says, I love it when authors do research. She says her husband is always right too, Diane.
Yeah.
And Valerie says, I may have missed this, but I heard you say that we should embrace our differences. Was this the inspiration behind writing this novel? That's a great question too. Um, I'll let you go ahead, Diane.
Yeah, I do think that I I've just felt these characters speaking to me. I really did. I felt them telling me their story, and all their differences. And when I came from writing the short story, which was 15,000 words, to an 82,000 word novel, you have to bring in more characters, more subplots, but it was like they were given to me. And every time, it is historical, it's set in mostly in the 1950s, so I bring in some historical facts that happened within that time period, not necessarily the big front page news.
Diane, did we lose you? Diane, can you hear us? Looks like Diane may have frozen up here. Um, let's see if we can get her back. Anything can happen with a live show, folks. So let's see if we can get Diane back in. We're going to try to see if she's able to come back in for our broadcast. If you guys are just being able to come in, welcome. You guys are watching The Right Stuff, our brand new show here on Amazon Live. Our first guest is Diane Kane. She's the author of this book you guys see here, I Never Called Him Pa. It's available right now, both in paperback and the Kindle edition here on Amazon. There she is. I
Jeez,
can go ahead and bring her
sorry,
back.
I'm so sorry. I don't
No,
know.
no, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm in Maine right now, and we're
Uh-huh.
having a terrible storm, so we
Oh, I'm
could have
sorry. Okay.
had a delay in the power. It's been
Okay.
going on and off. We do have a generator, but it could have not clicked right in. So sorry
Got you.
about that.
No. Hey, look, with the live broadcast, I was just saying to them, Diane, anything can happen. We just roll with it anyway, for sure. But I appreciate what you were saying because of the time frame that it was set in, and when it went to the question that she was mentioning about the inspiration, I think it definitely does show that connection that's there too. I do want to say we have another point I wanted to bring up from Amazon there, Diane, and again, I'm letting you. I know the answer, but because Diane's our guest, and this show is all about the writer being able to be able to chime in with you guys. I'm going to let her answer it. The question is, this is a tough question. I was wondering if Henry was a person of color because it seems that Caucasian don't understand or is not seen as much in this setting. So I'll let you answer that, Diane.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, but what I'll say is that Ernest, the hobo, is a black man.
Okay.
Henry, the young Henry, is Caucasian,
Okay.
and he lives with his grandmother on the farm. And so you have Ernest coming. Not only is he homeless, he's of a different race that they're not used to seeing in the 1950s, maybe in that section of the country so much. And so it's a meeting of differences and getting to know each other. And I say that Graham, who is very open and kind and giving, and so one reader said to me, you know what, without Graham, the story would have never happened, because she welcomes Ernest into her home, and she takes care of him, and she bonds with him, and then he in turn bonds with Henry, who's a young boy who doesn't have a father.
Right.
And so I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, she said you did. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if I fully answered the other question about, I said it's not in a Southern dialect. And, Ernest grew up in the South, but he's traveled, he's been in the war. He may have a Southern accent, but it's not in a Southern dialect. And as far as young, Henry is young, but I think that he is a very thoughtful young boy, even from a young age. He's a reflective boy, where his friend Willie is he speaks before he thinks, but Henry thinks a lot. And so a lot of it is not only Henry's dialogue speaking, but also his inner thoughts.
Such a great point. And such a great conversation with you, Diane. So glad we get to kick off this brand new show here on Amazon with you. Again, everyone, Diane Kane has been our guest. Her book that we've been discussing is I Never Called Him Pa. You guys can see my copy here. You can't have mine, but you can get yours on Amazon. You can get either the paperback or the Kindle edition. You all can see it there either along the side or on the bottom of our broadcast screen. Also, for you guys who are tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, you guys can see a link that will bring you over to Amazon so you can be able to get it for yourself. Diane, really appreciate you kicking off our new show with us. How can our viewers stay connected with you?
Oh, well, I'm on Facebook. I'm at Page of Possibilities, and I have a website, Write of Possibilities, which is WRITE of possibilities .com. And this was because about 8-10 years ago when I started these pages, and I thought everything is possible, and it
Mhm.
is. And that's really, I want to give that message to other writers and just anyone who is thinking about things that they want to accomplish. Anything is possible. I became a published author in my late 50s, and I wrote my novel, that my dream come true, in my mid 60s. So
Mhm.
anything is possible, and that's why I'm at Page of Possibilities on Facebook and Write of Possibilities on the in online, and you can read a lot of my stories on my website too.
Love that. Again, everyone, Diane Kane has been our guest. Thank you all so much for being with us as we kick off this brand new show. You can join us here every Monday, same time, for The Right Stuff. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks.